This is how much we know about movies. We just if you want a raw review of movies, you're getting it right here because we don't know shit.
Dad! Oh, fuck, I don't know, man. Is that like nostalgia purposes for kids these age?
I don't give a shit. I don't care.
We get that, Pop.
Fine, I'll Google it. Through the magic
you don't
of podcasting.
have to Google it. I'm just saying, just take it out.
No.
Not bring it out, or just be better prepared.
Shut your fucking mouth.
I am your father.
Man, sometimes I wish like things would stay at a simpler time mentality.
Welcome to the Two Dads Review Podcast.
Are you ready?
Dude, I'm ready. The worst part is that whatever flu shot everybody listening, you and me, my kids, your kids, whatever flu shot we all got this winter and last fall is not the right strain because everybody's got the fucking flu right now. There's schools with there's elementary schools. I got a friend of mine who works in the elementary school near here, and she's like, there was one day there was 360 kids and faculty out total, and I was like, holy shit. It's like that. You gotta be kidding me.
Really, dude? Because, this is the first time I got my flu shot in a while, and outside of the weird thing that I had go on today, I haven't been sick with the flu. I know my normal stomach shit fucks me up, but that's insane. I haven't been sick with the flu in fucking so long that I've almost forgot what the flu feels like. Well,
the worst part is that the flu symptoms this year are pretty much what you are. The fever you had today and shit like that. That's what's going around. It's a fever. It's not completely debilitating, but it's definitely one where you're and you can't send the kid to the school because they can't have a fever within 24 hours. And then you get the fever down and they're home the next day. Then the fever pops again. You're and you can't go to school again tomorrow. And you just keep holding them. And it's okay, you have to go to school at some point. I'm going to OD you on Tylenol or ibuprofen to fight this fever so you can go to school tomorrow. Because if not, you're going to take this grade over again. Sorry. So yeah, my kids pass it around.
Why are you repeating? I had the fever for 17 weeks and I just couldn't fucking get rid of it. You're 38 and I've never been able to shake the fever. Yes, I'm still in 3rd grade.
Right. And stop sending your kids to school when they've had a fever within 24 hours. All they do is pass that shit on to everybody else's kids. You know who you are listening right now. Don't do that shit. It's your problem. It's your fault. 24 hours, hold your kid back. After that, they're not contagious. They still have a fever, don't send them in. They're contagious. There's a reason they make that rule. Stop. Jesus. Just stop. Star Trek Discovery, Episode 3, Point of Light. I'm going to warn everybody up front. This is, just to introduce ourselves in case you're just finding us for the first time. My name is Clay. I'm one of the two dads. My partner in crime across the mic and across the internet is Corey. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
He is here. I'm the Trekkie. He's the non-Trekkie. He gives us that outside view that none of us ever decide to listen to when people start, what do you mean Star Trek? This guy likes sci-fi. He enjoys Star Trek. He's not as deep into it as I am. I usually give the show the benefit of the doubt. And while the show moved our plot line forward this week, there is a few nitpicks that I have to bring up, and we will get to those here very shortly. If you didn't find us over at twodadsreview.com, you can find us there. Check us out on iTunes. Apple Podcasts, whatever they call it now. Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places you listen to podcasts. Feel free, subscribe, turn on the notifications button because as of this week, one of us was sick. So we were trying to get out every Monday, but it didn't happen this week. Sorry. We're recording this the day before the next episode comes out, so hopefully everybody's listening, getting ready to get us in your ears right before the next episode comes out for episode 4. So we'll see what happens. Did you like the episode this week?
I'm not gonna lie, man. I don't even really remember too much of the episode.
There was a lot of next week we'll see this. There's a couple of cool stuff. There's a couple of cool things.
Yeah, I know as soon as we talk about it, it'll all be in my brain, but as far as anything standing out or anything that I was even kind of whoa, isn't it? And even the moments that were supposed to be like that, it just kind of felt like this episode never wanted to get over the hump. And I don't know why. It wasn't, it's weird. It's it wasn't a bad episode, but it also as far as all the other episodes I guess we've seen within this series, it just kind of it's not like below par, but it was just like offbeat. Like it just didn't seem to match right. And I don't know if it was
flow real well.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was because we just had this kind of big shift with the other side, the Cleon side of things and stuff, but I don't think that was it. I just think this was like a weird, like clunky episode. It just wasn't as smooth as they all seemed to be.
And for once, for one of the few times in our podcast, I'm going to completely agree with you. Because usually I'm like, no, man. Like, this is what happened, and this is the behind-the-scenes stuff. And no, it's not. It was clunky. We watched Game of Thrones. We reviewed last season of Game of Thrones. We're going to review the final season of Game of Thrones coming up. We can follow 18 different plot lines simultaneously without a problem in Game of Thrones. This one, you throw in the Klingons, and it felt like you throw in the Klingons, you throw in Giorgio, and it starts it felt like they were just jumping so fast. And I'm like, what do you, like, stop? Like last week on the podcast, I speculated that, hey, we may not see any of the Discovery crew this week. Let's spend the whole time on Kronos and deal with the whole Klingon thing and L'Rell and Ash and all the intricacies of the Klingon High Council that's now being stood up and everybody's adjustment to the new leadership. Like, let's just give me and just immerse me in an episode there. They had plenty of sets built. There was at least 3 or 4 different locations that they dressed to look to different if there was not 4, they dressed a couple to look like a whole bunch of different places. So they could have easily spent the entire episode there without it looking like we sat in 2 rooms and talked for an hour straight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I feel like they could have not even, don't even put me on Discovery. You didn't move any of the plot points on Discovery further than a very minute point. I mean, Tilly, God bless her, was the one that even her point that felt like it gave us a lot of answers. They left us with a cliffhanger. I mean, they left us with the question literally hanging in the middle of the air.
Yeah. I mean, even with the fucking Mucinex thing that they sucked out of her. Like,
forever unclean.
The good doctor, like, for as, like...
You mean the good scientist?
Yeah, but isn't he still a doctor?
No, he probably has a doctorate in, like...
Yeah, like, I don't mean, like, yeah, but that's what I'm saying, like...
No, I'm just saying he doesn't have... Yeah, he pretty much just was just like, I'm going to turn this machine on. It's going to hurt like a bitch. Here we go. Crank it up.
Right, yeah, like, he has always kind of seemed to be a dude that, even when he was, quote-unquote, breaking the rules, he would always bend them where he knew most likely, like, kind of what the outcome and things would be, like... And only rarely was he like, this is our only option. I am the spore drive. Like, we gotta fucking do it kind of thing. Right?
Right.
He always seemed to do things kind of logically. This was just like, oh, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna suck it out of you. Check me out. I'm a Ghostbuster. Ba, 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 ba. Like, it was almost like he was fucking like, it was weird, dude. Yeah, like, everybody played like a off version of themselves. Like,
a little bit. I mean, Stamets was definitely less cautious than normal. I mean, and he's not very cautious in general. Like you said, last season, he just jumped in the friggin' spore drive. Was like, I guess we're going to fucking do this. And this time he was like, this is going to hurt. Hope it, here we go. And just turns it on where it could have done whatever. And like, you're hurting my girl. So I'm already mad at you. Because I don't like seeing her not bubbly and happy. So this entire episode was a very trying episode for me.
Well, and Tilly's also so smart too. Like, I mean, it makes this episode almost was so that I want next episode, so I can go, okay, now you know what? Like, I can go back and look at this episode, and go, okay, justifiable why you did this. But Tilly seems like a person that grasps things really quickly, and as her and Stamets were talking, they're both explaining, like, what's going on, and the crazy hallucination thing that her and Michael have already figured out is not a hallucination.
Right.
It's telling her, and is speaking in a way that when they talk about the spore drive and Stamets, she's like, don't let him in me. Like, you can obviously tell that it's literally the spore drive or some representation of it talking to her. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't understand why she was so panicked, especially after her and Michael did what they did to get her calmed down. And then as her and Stamets are sitting there literally going, oh yeah, you touched this. This piece landed right here. This had to have happened. And
right.
you know, your goofy sidekick is talking to you and using words that are describing the thing that you're talking about as itself. It's like, come on, man, y'all got to put that together.
Well, and I wish once again, and I complained about this last season. Once again, they had to show me a flashback. Not only did you show me the spore landing on her, I think in the previously on Discovery portion before the show started, I'm pretty sure when Stamets was explaining it, they still flashed back to that green spore landing on her. It's like, we know the spore. We know that you're answering this question. Like, you do not have to fucking force feed me this shit.
I don't even think it was a flashback. I just think it was like one of those, everybody's going to visually see what I'm talking about. And we're all going to picture as if it's happening like right now, you know? And I
don't need to see that.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that really doesn't bother me. It just, I don't care. But I get it also if you're either more of a sciencey person or someone who's just been with Star Trek kind of your whole life, right?
Right.
Kind of going, hey guys, writers, give me a little bit of credit here. Like, we're not dumb folk watching your show.
Right.
Right. Like, and even people that would maybe be from regions that someone would go, there ain't nothing but idiots down there. If they're watching Star Trek, they're probably
crew.
Not stupid, right? Like, especially if they're sticking with it and it's their thing. Like, they're into the concepts, right? Like, they're not dumb. So, yeah, like, kind of stuff like that, for me, don't care. But that's just me, who I am. But I can definitely see how, like, that annoys you. It's like, come on, guys. Like, you're just beating me over the head with it now.
Right. We're smarter than this. Your general watching audience who's staying with this plot is on to it. We want to know. We've known about the green spore since the last episode when you friggin' super zoomed in on going and, you know, goat landing on her. Like, we know it happened. Like,
yeah, like, as soon as you guys mentioned like the spores getting lively, and then
we all perked up.
You know, like we all went, "Oh, Tilly has one of those on her." And then as soon as the weird things started happening, we went, "Huh, I bet you those things are interacting together." Like we're good. We were already with it.
We got
we're
this.
All we're all riding that train.
It doesn't take a recap and a frickin' previously. It doesn't take a recap and a flashback to tell me exactly what you're explaining to me.
Yeah.
What I was more disturbed about is that I'm pretty sure we saw a 3D mapping of her boobs.
I don't.
Did you notice that
when they were showing
happened? When they were showing like where it had landed and where it had sprouted through her body on the display screen? Like there was like they had graphed out a female body, but I was like, that's Tilly's boobs. I mean, it just is. I'm not saying I watched the scene a couple times. I'm just saying.
Are you talking about
when she's in the chair?
That weird like tumor thing they showed like growing like on the screen? Oh, I didn't even notice the boobs.
Yeah, I was like, they kept
spinning
thing. The body around. I'm like, and boobs. Like, okay. I was like, we're going with this? Okay. I mean, okay. There we go. I mean, we saw Klingon boobs last season, so I guess CG generated boobs is fine. I was just like,
It's an adult show, man.
It really is, man. CBS All Access. After dark.
After dark, catch your CGI panties and wieners by belly buttons as they thrust upon each other's navels under the sheets.
Good on her for finishing a friggin' half marathon and stopping near the end and then beating everybody in the marathon. I was like, way to go, girl. Like, you were just running away from her as fast as you could.
Yeah, I don't think any of those guys understand how marathons work.
Right.
At no point, if that was a marathon run, would she had stopped and fucked her pace up like that, because those other people would have just pulled away immediately.
Yeah. I'm not what you call a runner by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, I was like, oh, I was like, if you guys like running a 3-miler, I can understand, but he said half marathon. So I was like, oh God, you guys are like on 11 or 12 miles or something? Like, that's crazy.
That's a full marathon, isn't it? 26.3 or some shit like that.
Is it 26.6? Because it's 13.3 that I see on the back of everybody's friggin' vehicles. Because what's that joke? I forget. There's like a dad joke about runners. Like, you want to know? You know how you know if someone runs a marathon? Don't worry, they'll tell you.
Yeah, marathon runners and like
they love to tell you they run.
New gym rat people, like gym rats, like gym rats. Like the people that have just been doing it forever, like they're like, I go to the gym, and you just know it's their thing. Like at no point are they like, you need to fucking go. Like, I mean, if they look at you and they go, hey, Thomas, I think you're one fucking burger away from dying. Maybe you want to try the gym. It's always the guys that are like kind of in shape, and then the new year rolls around. And then all of a sudden it's like, yo, dude, check out my like 900 protein shakes I check out and all my workouts and blah, blah, blah. You know what? You should really try this diet and do this shit because then I'm super fit. But then you see them like come June and they look worse off than before they started because they just quit doing everything and kept eating and drinking all that like protein powder and shit. It's like,
It's not how that works.
Yo, homie, I think you need to stop the bulking process there, brother.
Nice. Yeah, so she finishes the race, and then watching, all we've ever seen her most of the entire series has been like happy-go-lucky, like you say, bubbly unicorn, everything's fantastic. And this episode, she was none of those things, and it really was just, I was like, oh man. I was like, number one, you've got range, but number two, you're hurting my heart right now, girl. Like when she was in the room talking to Burnham and she was losing it, like she was, because you could tell that she was fighting. It wasn't just the fact that she was seeing this girl. It was the fact that she didn't have time for it. She's like, I can't have this right now because she's in the cadet or in the, command training program and all that stuff. And she's like, I don't have time for a mental break. And we all know these people in our lives, like the person who's just not, if something goes wrong on their path, everything is fucked.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it was like that, like as you said, like a kind of kink in her life plan? I mean, cause I took it more of, she was like scared, like she's actually just losing her mind. It's inconvenient, but
losing her. But I think that she was more worried. Yes, she thought she was losing her mind, absolutely. But she was more worried the fact of when it was happening. Like everything was going right for her. She's in the command program. She's where she wants to be. She's on her path to being a captain, which we know is her goal. And this would either set her back immeasurably or derail her completely. And she was watching, what she really was seeing was everything her mother had ever said to her as a kid was all coming true. All of the nastiness and the criticism and all that stuff because she's done something wrong or something that her mother thought was wrong. Like she was all that she bottles up and uses it as her drive every day. And the reason she is so bubbly and so happy is because she's trying to not be her mother, that she was seeing everything her mother had said come true. Every criticism and all that stuff she's bottled up was all welling to the surface. And she was at this point, she was like, if this command thing goes down the drain and I go crazy, like she just couldn't handle it. I'm not even sure she was more worried about the craziness as much as she's worried about her path is now gone. It was vanishing in front of her as she spoke.
Gotcha.
And then, of course, she yelled at I loved that the girl, took position between her and the captain because that little exchange was, it was magical because she was, yelling at the captain. And, I liked watching it as if you didn't know she was seeing somebody, and it was hilarious. Her interaction with the captain and then, I'm not going to listen to you anymore.
Yeah.
And then Saru talking to her, he used her full name. So when you're a kid and your parents call your full name out, you're in fucking trouble. He used her full name and she's like, I quit. Fuck. She's like, I can't do this. And just walked out. I mean, I just felt for her. And then that part was hard enough to watch. And then watching her with Burnham, actually break down, start crying. And that leading to the fact of Burnham discovering that it was, them working it out going, show me a teenage girl who hasn't cried. And them being like, it's not a ghost. It's not your brain. It's something else that's not human who's never cried in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. I like that little deduction. Speaking of Burnham, let's just get her shit over with because I didn't even need to see her this episode. And I know our buddy who listens who doesn't like Burnham will enjoy me talking shit about this part.
Better name drop, man. Get him
okay,
out there.
Luke. Okay, Luke. You don't like Burnham? He'll be on the show at some point. He's supposed to come over tomorrow night and watch the episode. We'll see if that actually happens. But her stuff with Amanda. Number one, here we go with another, like, is it going to be Spock? Like, is it going to be, are we going to get to see Spock now? Like, maybe it's going to be Spock this time, or is it going to be Sarek again? And so they do, like, we're not going to show you who's beaming aboard. We're just going to, like, show you the materialization and then, like, zoom through it. And then we're going to watch the actor's face react to who they see. And it's like, it's Amanda. We're like, okay, thanks. And then she's like, stolen these files.
Well, hold on. What is your argument with that part?
Because they've done it. They've done it. It's been 3 episodes. Cool. They've done it twice already.
Done what twice already?
It could be Spock transporting thing.
When did they do it last episode?
Episode 1, when Pike beams aboard, it's supposed to be a science officer, and then they, like, materialize and they show you his ear. Because you're expecting it to be Spock, because they're building it to be Spock, and then it's just Collins or Connolly, whatever the guy's name was.
I get that, but last episode, when did they do it last episode?
They didn't do it last episode. So I'm saying we've had 2 of 3 episodes that we've been like, oh, it's going to be Spock this time. It's not going to be Spock. And next episode, it'll be number 1. We know where Spock... Actually, we don't know where Spock is now for sure, because he escaped. Didn't he? He escaped. They're looking for him because he killed people. Spock's fucking murdering guys.
And probably when you see Spock, it's going to be him starting the episode.
Yeah, all this teasing. Yeah, you're right. And that's going to be the word, like, you can't surprise me now because you've already, like, it's like a jump scare movie. When you do 18 cat scares, because every horror movie has to have a cat jump out and make the cat noise, and everybody jumps and goes, it's just a cat. And then they get hacked to death. Like, it's like having 18 cat scares in a movie, and then all of a sudden the bad guy jumps out and you're like, it would have been better if it was a cat. You already knew it was coming. We're going to be desensitized to the arrival of Spock, that whatever they do to show us Spock will be like, yep, there's Spock. Great. It's Spock. Now what took us this long to get here?
I don't think that'll be the case at all. I think every one of you little fucking Trekkie nerds,
fuck you,
will fucking lose their shit as soon as Spock comes on. Like, you'll go, oh, it's Spock, and you'll go, oh, it's fucking Spock. Like, that's exactly how it'll go. And it's how it should be. Like, it
should be.
You're trying to make it all like it's like, I don't know. It's like you almost want some kind of like wizardry, like reveal, like he's like a David Blaine street musician, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's fucking Spock. Like,
yeah, well, and that's just it. Is that, and I agree with you. His reveal, his introduction to this series needs to be, for the lack of a better term, epic. I hate that word because it's not even the kids don't use that word anymore, but it needs to be on a scale that we have not seen. The problem is that stop teasing it. We know he's cast. We know what he looks like. Just let us get to that part. And you better hope that part fucking owns up to the number of times you've teased it maybe being Spock beaming over, or maybe being Spock on the screen. You're going to build up so much that whatever you've written, no matter how cool it is, going to be like, okay, thank God we're here. And that'll be our response, as opposed to like the nerdgasm you were mentioning earlier, where everybody goes and changes their shorts and pushes pause.
You guys just have a really negative outlook on life in general, then.
Hey, you're the happy one here, okay? You keep your positivity on that side of the screen, all right? I don't need that shit over here. I'm just telling you.
I'm so angry I finally got what I want. It wasn't soon enough.
The people who love this universe, and if you're going to bring back, this is the first time you're going to show me one of the OG characters that you've recast, of course. Yeah. You've recast this guy. You didn't even want to get Zachary Quinto over. You're like, no, we're just going to cast somebody else. Then it needs to be a grandiose event. Like, it's going to have to be grandiose, but teasing it over and over, it's like, we don't tease us. Just let it be Amanda that shows up.
Maybe the writer... Well, see, now you're just like, okay, so you're almost arguing with yourself here, because you're like, it needs to be a grandiose event, but then you're like, don't tease us, just have him show up. Like, what the fuck do you want? Like, you can't have a grandiose event and not have some teasing. And he's only been teased twice. Teasing. No, you don't need teasing. You don't need teasing. There's
right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Millions of other people watching the show.
The other millions that also need the flashback and the previously on and the flashback during the telling of the answer to the problem need a grandiose and also teases. I apologize.
But I'm saying maybe the writers also know that they're gonna do Spock like bona fide badass justice. Like maybe everyone has read that thing on Star Trek. All the actors have looked at it. They're like, this is the shit. And so they're like, yeah, we're going to fucking tease them because we know when we drop it, like you got to be an idiot not to like it.
Okay. And that is always the benefit of the doubt that I give them. But we had a lot of hopes and expectations last season, and they weren't necessarily... Oh, did I kill you with that?
No. An ice cube broke in the cup and shot down the back of my throat.
I have a bad feeling, and I don't want to, because just I don't want nobody who's a Trekkie wants anything to go. Nobody who enjoys this show and isn't like one of the outskirts isn't the right term, but there's a definite division of people when you look online, of people who enjoy Discovery because, and for the reason I do, is that there is Star Trek on television. I don't care how I get it. I just want it, and there it is. There's the other half. They're like, this isn't my Star Trek. You're not my president. You know, that kind of shit. So you're never going to make those guys happy ever. I want to be happy. I don't want to nitpick your CG. I don't want to nitpick your fight scenes, but I'm going to this episode because they were subpar. Or you just didn't explain your ship well enough because your non-rendered CG ship that Giorgio is flying on, like I felt like they didn't like put the last layer of like rendering on that ship. Now it was all shimmery and weird. So like if you have some sort of weird cloaking tech that Section 31 has, then just say it. Take that one line and go, use a funky names type hull had dematerialized or whatever. Fucking just tell me why your ship looks like a 90s CG rendering. Just that's all I need to know because it looked really odd compared to all the other ships we've seen. That's all.
Didn't even notice.
You didn't notice the ship it was just like stupid smooth. Not like, ooh, that ship is like sleek and like shiny and smooth, and it was just like bad render smooth. Like they didn't get they like rushed that shot of the ship, like the side nacelles like folding down and them passing by the camera. I'm like, what happened? There's no texture to the outside of that ship. What is it? And if it's something cool, just say it. They didn't say it. They just took us right onto the ship, and there we were.
Why did they need to say it though? Like
because it looks like it was a rush CG job, and we know they have the budget for it not to be. So if it's something different, then tell me what it is. So I don't go, why is your CG suddenly bad for this episode? Like if you didn't have time to do it, then don't do it.
But why couldn't that just be like said next episode when they're all back on her ship? And
because I have an entire week to do a podcast and bitch about it. That's why.
What the fuck is all this shit? And then he's like, how does no one find you? And then she goes, oh, blah, 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 blah. And you go, oh, that's why the ship looks the way it looks. You sure you're not a millennial?
I'm not.
You're really in this instant gratification thing.
I am older than you are.
I know. That's what's puzzling me. Like, I figured you would be better with waiting on things by now.
I'm okay waiting. Or if you're going to show it to me, just tell me what it is. If you've done something other than normal, you have great CG renderings of Discovery. You have great sweeping outside shots of Discovery, and then you have this smooth, otherworldly looking.
I'm looking up her ship right now.
Even Memory Alpha just calls it a strange ship because no one knows what the fuck we were looking at. And if it's something new and secretive, then you can literally just one sentence to allude to our, some new material they're testing for the hull, or, super dense trilineal tanium fucking, hull is holding up. Whatever you've done to that ship to make it look fake, just tell me, Or if it's got cloaking tech, then just let it uncloak and friggin' we can see it, shimmery, and then it's fine if it looks weird. They just didn't give me the explanation that I wanted, but they gave me too much explanation of the Spore and Tilly, which is, it's going to happen. I'm going to bitch a little bit about it. But while we're on all that stuff, let's talk about everything that happened on the Klingon home planet for a minute. So we know that L'Rell is the High Chancellor now, or the leader of the High Council. We see that she's speaking to everybody. One of the cool things of this episode is her and Ash are presenting the D7 class battle cruiser to the entire council, saying, this is our ship. This is what we're all going to fly. It doesn't have a single house name on it. It has our emblem of a unified Klingon Empire. Yeah. So what that ship was, for everybody who knows the original series, that is your standard D7 class. It's your Klingon bird of prey. It is. You all right?
Yeah. I'm hungry though. And
here goes me editing out all the chips.
I'm sorry, dude. I tried to find something that wasn't like a cellophane bag.
You couldn't eat like cheese.
No, I did. I was like, do I have a soft, quiet food? I really don't.
It's the Klingon. It's the Klingon ship we saw in all of the original series. And I believe at some point it was shared with the Romulans later on, and at that point they may have painted a bird across the wings of it. But I think even the image of it may have had that kind of has the wings, the wing image on it. But it's cool because it makes it this is when they introduced it, when the High Council started. And it was a neat scene that they were showing the origins of this ship. All the ships, because all the bitches last season were oh, why don't the ships look like the ones from the original series? It's only been 10 years, blah, blah, blah. Well, this explains that in canon now. Another thing that was new is now the Klingons have hair. And I don't know if we mentioned that episode 1 that we knew that was coming down the pipe, but I don't know if the costume department got butthurt about everybody hating on the new Klingon design because they didn't look like we know them to look. Or if it was just, hey, it's easier just to do hair so you don't have to do the whole back molding of the head. Because, yes, they grew hair, but the elongation of their skulls is actually way... L'Rell's head from the side is inches less deep than it was before. So this way. Because everybody who's listening can see what I'm doing, but this way. From front to back is a lot less distance-wise.
Yeah, the depth.
The depth. I was saying depth, but I'm hoping everybody listening knows I'm depth. So from forehead to the back of your head is a lot less depth than before. But it has to save time on makeup. It really does. Just throw this thing on. And so now they play that off later on by saying that they grew their hair back because they're not in a wartime environment anymore, and they all shave their heads for war. It's okay. For doing that, I like that they address. I don't know if I like that they addressed it. I didn't know if they were going to or not. They were just going to be nope, they're this way now, and let's pretend like they were this way the whole time. I don't know if they were going to do that or not.
But so
they had
cool because it's kind of like a reverse take. A lot of times,
warriors grow their hair out.
Yeah, it was the longer your hair was, the less losses you've accumulated or kills you've had.
You cut your hair when you lose a battle.
Your hair was taken when you were knocked down a peg or fucking whatever, right? It's kind of cool that, because if you really think about it, humans in general, when they go to fight, should strip down as much hair as they can. And especially since I was a wrestler, you cut your nails as short as you can because you don't want those breaking when you hit someone's face. And I would buzz my head as tight as I could, and even in high school, and I'd grow my beard out there because that shit hurt having it raked across someone else's face. But yeah, to me, it makes warrior sense because I'm limiting the amount of things you can now use against me. Especially since Klingons seem to get really hand-to-hand combat-y, right? They're I'm going to grow some nails, take off the one thing that you could probably grab from me to kind of control me, because we all know if you get something's head, you can kind of dictate what the fuck's going to happen to it. I don't know, but those Klingons are dope-ass strong, so they could probably pick most mere people up one-handed and kind of be like, shoo fly, you're bothering me. Go away. But yeah, to me it was cool. I was like, that makes sense. You guys are like the Klingons to me look cool.
Mm-hmm.
But if I saw a shaved head Klingon, like all fucking like clean cut, and I just kind of saw the alien animal of it, because when I see hair on things, it almost kind of humanizes them, or it makes them cute and cuddly, depending on like the kind. Like, could you imagine a Klingon with like very, very curly hair, right? Like, it just wouldn't look right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would look goofy as shit. If you saw that Klingon kind of running at you, you'd be like, I mean, like, I know you're big and tough, but I'm not nearly as scared of the death you're about to impinge on me.
Because your flowing locks are bouncing so beautifully off your...
When I see a shaved head one, like, beelining at me at 100 miles an hour, I'm like, I want nothing to do with that thing coming my way.
Right. Another little Easter egg that I saw online. So Kolsha challenges... he doesn't challenge it. He just kind of is a dick to L'Rell and Ash while she's having her big speech and revealing the new the battle cruiser. So the Klingon standing next to him has an emblem for her house on her sleeve, and the house is the House of Mogh, which is Worf's house from The Next Generation. And it was just kind of cool that like they were like, here's House of Mogh right here in Discovery. So there's a whole like there's a screenshot online. I was like, oh yeah, she is wearing it's the same emblem that he would wear on his sash when he wore the sash he wears on TNG. So that was a little Easter egg. I didn't catch watching the show, but I caught it. I saw it online later, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So House of Mogh is there, and you've got Kolsha who talks shit about Ash, and you can tell that he's just not in it. He's not in it to win it with everybody else there. He's still got his face paint on. Ash even like tries to, they fight each other in a little bit and little parlay of fisticuffs. And he wipes some of it from his face, and then they retreat back to her place. And we learn later on that his paint was like a listening device. Like that was something they glanced over. Like, we have paint that we can then like listen to what you're saying with.
Right, dude? Like that right there alone, I feel if you had that kind of wartime advantage before we got the spore drive,
right?
Like, you're telling me you guys couldn't have put like a fucking paint tag on some clothing and like send it to the fucking like fleet and was like, hey, and then just have it pop off, and everyone's like, oh god damn it, I gotta open this fucking dust and clean it out now, and it's just now you're listening to literally everything they're ever saying. Yeah, that was some like souped up sci-fi shit just to make what needed to happen.
That's plot paint.
Yeah, that's what that was.
Like, how could we play this off so it works right? So his intentions were just to listen in on her government goals and directives, and listen in on Ash, which he does call him out on for calling Burnham later on, and him warning her of the unrest of the council and how people are starting to go against L'Rell. But he also finds out, because Ash goes to talk to L'Rell's uncle, who's been ignoring him all the time, and finds out that during his procedure, him and L'Rell made a baby.
Yep.
So Ash sees the baby. The baby is an albino like Vogue was. L'Rell's never met the baby. In fact, L'Rell didn't even carry the baby. They pulled the embryo or cell formation of cells or first trimester, who knows? They pulled whatever out of her and then gestated it ex utero, so like not inside of her uterus. Because Kim was like, my wife is like, ex utero. I was like, yeah, outside the uterus. I don't know. They put her in a bag. I have no freaking clue they did the baby. But it's not in her uterus.
Tube baby. Tube baby.
Yeah, so they grew the baby
man.
somewhere else.
They're onto some shit, dude.
They got some science,
right, dude?
They know we're Klingons. We science all over the place.
Yeah, damn. They're like taking babies out before they're even made and putting them in little things to grow later, and then fucking eavesdropping paint.
How did they lose? How do you lose a battle? Spores.
Like, you guys just
fucking
poorly
space mushrooms beat your ass.
Shit, right? Like, yeah.
Oh man, so that all comes to a boil later on. The stuff with Burnham, we were going to talk about a second ago, we didn't. Her and Amanda's thing, where it was like Amanda went to the starbase, stole the records, snuck them out, brought them to Burnham, and like Burnham is on, and I think we talked about this last week. Burnham is on this such a straight, like, I have my badge back. I'm back to being a commander. I can do no wrong. I don't want to do anything against the rules, to the point of, was it last week when he's like, I informed Federation of Spock's situation or whatever. And she's like, you didn't betray a friend. You just followed your orders, or something that sounds like someone reading out of a fucking manual. Like, she's so like down the line that when Amanda comes to her with all of this illegal shit, she's like you can see it in her face. She's like, why are you, like, get the heroin away from me. Like, take the needle and put it somewhere else. Like,
right?
I don't want to do this.
This is like literally her third chance. And she's like, Jesus Christ, how many lifelines am I going to get if I keep doing this, like, behind the back shady shit that is for the greater good? I understand that, but how many times are people going to go, okay,
hey, you want to break the law for me?
Mm-hmm. Right? Because that was one of the things in Future Man that they harp on in season 2, because they keep saying, but I was doing it for, what, a good cause? And they're talking about how it affects all the other shit. They're like, oh, you did this one good thing over here? Yeah. You know what happened you never thought to go do? Kill baby Hitler. And all these timelines you made, never once went and killed baby Hitler. None of you. So funny. But, like,
nice.
It makes sense to me, though, that Burnham, especially given the Vulcan kind of, like, upbringing as well, like, makes a super hardcore overcorrection where we're like
the other side.
Yeah, and like most humans given a chance like that, especially like if it's to the, I don't know, whatever a large magnitude for you or anybody listening would be, right? Like for me, it was alcohol, right? Like, when you have that shift where you're like, okay, I've been given a chance, like I'm gonna do this, right? Like a normal human like overcorrects real hard anyway. So like, you know what, dude? I heard they serve fucking beer at Chuck E. Cheese's. I'm never taking my child there again until they stop doing that, right? Like, you're just kind of like, I'm not going any fucking where near it. And like, but then with her, like, very stoic, rule-oriented, we don't express motion, like, if that kicks in too, plus with, like, the straight and narrow, yeah. Anybody coming over going like, hey, dude, you want to jaywalk across the bridge? She's just like, get the fuck away from me. Oh, my God.
and in this episode, she literally, like, walks Amanda to Pike, and she's like, take this. Like, I don't want to touch this. Like, take the bag of Coke and the straw and the rolled up dollar. However you're going to get it up, just take it from me, sir. And
I know what happens when I hold on to this. Things get to moving. I'm going to make it the ball in your court. And then if you tell me to do something, so be it.
Yeah, she's like, I get shit done. Like, my life is getting shit done legally or illegally. So take this or I'm going to get shit done. So she's like, here, take this.
Like the greatest rapper hype man ever right there. Like, I get shit done. Legally or illegally. Like, man, you need to put that in a mixtape.
All right, you got it. And so he's like, I do like how she does give him the options of like, but as a captain, you can override whatever is normally legal and just do whatever you need to get shit done. And he's like, yeah, let me call this guy. So he calls the guy at Starbase 5, and that guy gives him the runaround. And I do like, and this is a time where they don't spoon feed you, but Burnham and Amanda stand off screen. And he calls him on a screen on purpose so he can't see who else is in the room. And he has his conversation. And like in the worst, like business way, you don't inform, like you're always supposed to inform folks like who's in the room when you're talking to them. But he doesn't do that. He's like, hey there, bud. So what's going on with Spock? By the way, I don't have her mother and her stepbrother or her stepdaughter here in the room with me. Like, he's like, so how's it going? The guy like gives them the runaround. He's
the guy's like, did you just blink both eyes independently?
Did you wink at somebody? Do I hear breathing?
What are you talking about? No, I just blink weird.
Right. So Pike then orders her And he's like, look, and it's good for you on the captain to be like, I'll order you, therefore you're following orders. Go break the law, get into these files, figure out what's wrong with Spock. And that's what leads us to the scene of them going through the files and Burnham once again alluding to how she hurt Spock so bad. And of course, going through the files, we see the Red Angel, the fact that he's seen the Red Angel since like she was a kid, and there was an attack on the Vulcan there's an attack on the Vulcan Educational Institute that she was at or whatever by the logic extremists, and she ran away because of what had happened to her family and the fact that she wants to go back to Earth and blah blah blah. And that's when Spock first saw the Red Angel and like told Sarek like, yeah, hey, she's right over there, like I know where she's at, where she's run off to. And then so she goes in this thing about the logic extremists, like how she had to hurt, because apparently Spock and her got along, and he was like her little puppy dog who just like followed her everywhere, which is understandable. She's older than him. She's a new plaything. So he's like, yeah, you're cool. Let's go do shit. And she, with the logic extremists, she felt that if she could get them onto her and not target Spock because he would be right next to her, then she was protecting him. So whatever she did hurt him irreparably enough that Amanda says, no, I'll find him, grabs the disc and storms out. And I, like, when she I'm like, are you mad? Like, are you mad right now? Like, number one, she didn't tell you what she did. Number two, like, she hasn't told anybody in 3 fucking episodes what she did. And that was like 30 fucking years ago. Like, you're alienating the one person who gets shit done. So her anger, like her immediate shift, like she didn't like blow up on her. She just like got all stoic and was like, nah, I'll find him. Yeah. Just like fucking stormed out. I was like, I kind of see why you're angry, but I don't see why you're leaving the way you are. What the fuck are you going to do? Nothing. You're going to do nothing. Burnham's going to save the day anyways.
All I really remember from that scene is like
these two girls like kiss on the cheek.
No, not even that. I'm so dead inside from romance. I don't even notice anything.
Right.
Like I'm just like, it's people mush.
Wah, wah.
It's all gray and lifeless.
Shut up, Eeyore. Shut up, Eeyore.
No, but the only thing I really took away from that scene was like how, she was like, I wasn't allowed to give Spock the affection that I gave you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your fault, right? And then, like, that's...
Until you tell me that you hurt him, and then I had to deal with that, and I couldn't give him the love he needed, and you hurt my baby, so fuck you, I'm leaving. And like that's what I got. And I'm like, aren't we above that? Aren't you guys more evolved than that? Like, come on. So let's talk about, I think the last thing we haven't covered is the ending stuff on Kronos and on Georgiou's ship. And this is where some of my complaints have already come in about her ship. But Kolsha steals the baby, kills her uncle who was who was taking care of it with his daughters probably, raising the child, feeding it, whatever. And Kolsha learns this from Ash's paint listening device that was on his hand and steals the baby, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like hangs the dude from the ceiling with like daggers in his chest and like it was pretty good. Like he was in there like chain around his neck, stabbed with daggers, hanging in the baby's room, as L'Rell and Ash are going to like have their first meeting together with the child, and she's all worried about, he's not going to know me. Yeah. He's like, he didn't know me either, but
that was one of those
it's
like
fine.
Borderland hangings, man. Like, we're coming on the outskirts of old blank territory. You don't want to cross those lines. Like,
right.
Super warning.
So that he has them like meet them at her residence, and so they go there, and then my second gripe or third gripe of the episode is the most robotic, botched, slowed down in the wrong places fight occurs between L'Rell Ash and her crew and Colshaw and his crew. And I hate to I hate to like not like it because I know the amount of work and filming that went into it was probably grueling. And it was like either speed it up so it looks like better, have the camera at the right angle to show that the person is not just like slowly going through the motions to get the blade to where it needs to. It was just, we've seen some badass fight scenes in this series so far. And this one was by far the most horrendous fight, choreographed or filming or both, that I have seen. I don't know if it was the actors involved, because I know the actors were actually, like, I'm 99% positive it was Laurel and Ash doing the fighting, those actors. So not trained martial arts people or not trained stunt people, but it was just, then you need to do certain things with the camera to fix that. And it was blatantly apparent that it just didn't look like a fight scene we've seen. You think back to the fight scene between Burnham and Takuvma and Voke and Giorgio, like that fight scene was crazy. I mean, it was wonderfully choreographed and filmed, and this one just didn't seem to be up to the same standards. And if I'm being that guy harping on it, then I'm being that guy. But go back and watch it again and tell me if it just looks like the greatest fight scene.
No,
ever.
It wasn't a good fight scene. It was weird. Like it started out and you're like, ooh, and then it was kind of like it was done. Like there were some. It wasn't long, and quite honestly, for quote unquote queen, right, to be doing her thing, it was very underwhelming. I'm not saying it needed to be fancy, but like there should have been a little more like, hey, if you're gonna come with me, come at me. Like, even though no one was watching, I thought like the kill would have been a little more vicious, you know, especially because it was personal and kind of stuff like that. And but yeah, like just the whole, but like again, like it was this whole episode, like nothing seemed to work. It was like they had everything almost smooth, and then there was one like 90-degree angle at the end, and every time they finally like got around to that piece, it was like clunk, and you noticed it, and you were like, what the fuck was that all about? And then you would get back into the rest of the episode because it would move, and then like something like this fight scene would happen, and you would go, what's weird? Like, what is going on with this episode? Like, it's not right. Like, the episode just felt off, you know. Like, and I don't know how to put it, because if you,
I want to give it the same credit as like episode 7 or 8 in a Netflix series, like where they're like, okay, we know what the end's going to be, we got to get you there. So this episode's going to be kind of because we have this next whole, like, it's kind of like I want to equate it to if you're riding a roller coaster, right? And you're climbing the hill, and you're hearing that clinking under your seat, and you're hearing it. You're like, clink, clink, clink. You're like, yeah, like shit's revving up. Like, we're going up this hill. Like, it's about to get crazy. And then, especially if you're like in the back of the if you're in the front of the roller coaster, and you're waiting for the back to get over the top of the hill, but you're already hanging off the front of the downhill. Like, that's what we are. This episode is the crest of the hill. Like, it's like, okay, like, we have to just get you over this hill, and then everything else is going to be insane, but we got to do it. This, like, all this stuff has to be, you have to see all this now.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's why I was saying, like,
later.
This episode still made me want to watch next episode, because I feel like next episode is going to be one of those episodes, not even, like, jaw-dropping, holy crap, but it's just a good next episode that makes this weird thing.
It makes it work.
Go, okay, gotcha.
Right.
Now that I've seen this, I understand you guys probably thought of a million different ways to do it, and just like Doctor Strange, you were like, there's only one, and it just happened to be fucking that one, right? You know? Yeah, right. And it's like, all right, cool. But when you're watching it the first time, and especially, like I said, like, even the actors acting their characters in this was like, I'm only going to take 80% of how I normally act as this guy, and then I'm going to leave like a little bit of me in here this go around. And like you could notice it. You know what I'm saying? You go, nope. If you came into my house and were my child, and were talking to me, I would go, nope, you're a
What's wrong?
doppelganger, you're that fucking changeling thing, you're not my kid. Get the fuck out. Like, and that's how every single character, except for Pike. Pike seemed to just be Pike. But he wasn't really there a whole lot. He's more like, go do this. Hey, cowboy. Woo! I'm fucking cool. Check me out, ladies. Like, all right. You got Pike. Pike nailed Pike. Pike nailed Pike. But everybody else just kind of felt wrong. Or like, it was the one episode that everybody was like, they were on hour 15 of like back-to-backs or something. And like no one just seemed to really give a fuck because they knew this episode like didn't mean a whole lot, you know, or
like,
whatever.
Wait till next episode.
Right. They're like, don't worry, man. I'm going to give you my all as soon as they let me go to fucking sleep.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you.
But I think if you just if you had someone tell this story and just told this episode like individually by itself and you didn't know it was like Star Trek and they just kind of told you the key things that happening, like, you know, the crazy Cleon house murders and shit and the weird spore stuff and just told you how this episode progressed, like you'd be like, man, this is interesting shit. Like this is some cool story, but it was the visual representation of this episode that threw it off so bad.
Yeah. I agree with you. And you and I don't agree all the time on this stuff, but I completely agree with you.
Yeah, like, and I'm not one to like knock things on a regular basis, you know, but this one just felt weird. Like it just was kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but you're not my normal thing that I come to on Thursdays or Friday mornings to watch, you know, like
or Sunday before the podcast recording.
Yeah. Who are you and what have you done with the thing that I have grown to like?
And even worse, last week you were so adamant that you hoped that Giorgio wasn't just using some tech to change your face, and that is exactly what it was.
I know,
it was something built into that hood that made it look kind of alien, kind of Klingonish. But you know, if I'm picking on the fight scene, I am about the choreography of the fight scene, the way it was filmed, but the weapons they introduced and Giorgio's fucking Klingon popping machine.
Yeah, her Predator shoulder thing was awesome, man. Yeah.
I mean, that was motherfuckers.
Yeah, like her entrance was dope. And her cloaking mechanism, like I don't mind it now because they're kind of like doing the whole like, hey, here's secret science level 31
She's a space
shit.
James Bond.
Right, yeah, like so I was like, okay, knowing that she's gonna go do their own thing, right? I'm like, I kind of took a view, like you just said, a little more James Bondy. You know, especially if they didn't do like the super crazy correction thing and then we're like, hey, here's her new show, but guess what? She's a little bit of everything, you know, and then you're like, oh, you know, but her rolling in with some like crazy Predator tech and cool cloaking mechanisms that seem to have not just like, hey, here's my invisibility cloak, but like, hey, here's me rearranged as something else, and it seemed to like morph as she was doing it. Like, to me, that would be kind of cool if it's one of those things where, like, you know, as she's walking through a crowded street or something like that, it's almost kind of constantly morphing. So, like, everyone that sees it goes, yeah, they kind of look like a lizard, and the next person's like, yeah, I remember the bird-faced person walking with the yellow, but the thing's always moving enough that everyone doesn't ever remember what they see, and, like, would love to see like a group of special agents now, like with all of those on, kind of filtering through a crowd.
Right.
Like I'd be like, that is fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, I'm still not mad at the tech. I was pretty sure it was gonna be some sort of like face changing thing, but I do like physically, but I do like the like hologram tech that changes your face to look like a different alien. That's pretty rad.
Yeah, but I'm
just enough.
But I'm hoping that this isn't because they like from what I gathered, they're like secret space, you know, like infiltration, espionage, you know what I'm saying? They're not like, hey, here's just a big gun, we're gonna go blow shit up, right?
Correct. Section 31 is...
so like I like the fact that it's not just, in my mind right now, because of what I've seen, it's not just a like, oh, I'm going to go to fucking planet Alf, I need to look like fucking Alf. Like I like the fact that it was kind of like Rorschach's mask through a crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's what the tech is. I'm like, it's always something that would make it very, very hard to detail who that person would be. Because even if it's like, oh yeah, I switched to fucking Alf, you could be like, yeah, I talked to a guy that looked just like Alf wearing the yellow cloak with blah, blah, blah. But if you have like 6 people that can't describe what the fuck the thing was,
right?
Like, that's way cooler in my mind.
Right.
That's what I want, and they better give it to me.
Like, see that tech used like as a group of people. Yeah, that's cool. Laurel and Giorgio, as Laurel's like holding her baby, I love the comments between the two of them when Giorgio's like, baby's just getting in the way. Like, I had to hire somebody to feed mine or I would have got nothing done. And Laurel's like, I'll consider that. I'm like, oh my God. Like, are you shitting me? And then so like Giorgio kicks Ash like out of the room. She's like let the ladies talk. Let us get shit done. So, she asks her in a way that like, can you kill him? She doesn't say, can you kill him? But she's like, he's a liability. The baby's a liability. Laurel takes it as like, you want me to kill both my man and my baby? Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, she's holding a knife to Giorgio and Giorgio's like, that's what I thought. And then we flash to Laurel in the High Council chambers speaking to all the Klingons, and she's spun the death of Kolshaw, like she's stabbed in the strange fight bubble, and Laurel killed him in the fight bubble, but she's like, she spins it in a way where he was protecting her unborn, her baby, her hidden baby from Ash, who had gone crazy, and Ash killed the baby, and then Kolshaw killed Ash, and here's Ash's head, and then like, by the way,
in case you don't believe me, here's the baby's fucking head.
Here's baby head. And I was like, there's never a time when I'm watching a TV show that I started going, you know what I'm ready to see today? Infant baby head. Like, I'm not, that never happens in my life when I sit down and go, you know what I'm ready for this episode? Infant baby head, decapitated. I'm not ready for that shit.
And this is where, like, for me, sitting on a giant cloud of rainbows most of the time, I laughed my ass off when she grabbed that baby's head, because obviously I know it's fake. So like, none of that ever like triggers any like real baby head thoughts in my mind. But I love the fact that like no one ever holds a baby head or a head in general, like palm up with this, like, unless it's a skull, you know? But if it's any head that has flesh on it, think about this. They always palm the fucking top of it. So when this giant Klingon head picked up what was the equivalent of a Nerf basketball in her fucking hand and was like, and here's my baby's head. Like, I almost fell over in my fucking chair laughing because I was not ready for it, dude. Like, I did not expect to see this, like, little Klingon baby head. Well, like, and then even thrown into even fiery pits. Even worse, when she first pulled out Ash's head, and the way this show is, I kind of was like, oh shit, she did it. Like, I was like, oh, is she that into it? And I wouldn't have been sad if they had killed off the character that way and been like, yeah, he was a liability, and this is how into it she is. Being Star Trek, though, I was kind of like, he's probably not really dead. But then, like, when she pulled the head out, I thought they were going to do, like, a soft reveal of the baby head, because when she first pulls it out of the basket, it's the camera is focused on Ash's face, but you see a tiny white head in her hand, but it's not focused. And they could have left it like that and then had her, like, speak to the head or holding the head off screen, but then they like zoomed in her holding it, like cupping it in her hands, and I was like, oh no, they're gonna show it. I was like, the fact that they're showing it focused means they're both fine. They're fine. There's nothing wrong, because those aren't real heads. And like, she tosses the big head into the lava and then like keeps the baby head, but then so we're like, okay, and so then she's like, then she tells the whole crew she's talking to, you're not gonna call me Chancellor anymore. You're going to call me, I deserve a fiercer title, which is Mother. And so I'm like Mother of Dragon. Like, it kind of was almost like I've seen that speech before from Daenerys before. Like, I was like, yeah, that's cool. I was like, we understand, like, girl power. Like, yeah, you can call her Mother. That's cool. Like, I like the political way that she spun this, like the tale that she told. I was like, this is cool. Like the way she made Kolshaw the hero, saving his house.
at, any sort of like disrespect to his house or any sort of retribution or any sort of like revenge from anybody left in his house, that kind of thing. She's like, no, he was protecting. Like the story she spun was awesome.
Yeah, well, she spins that story and then she walks over to the next, person in line and it's like, hey, here's your sash and your new fucking keys to your next in line adventure, right? Like, and she's good guy all the way around.
Yep. So yeah, so she has solidified her place in the High Council. She is set. And then we're on the ship and we know Ash and the baby are fine, and they are sending the baby to Boreth, which is where the most devout Klingon monks like live their whole lives worshiping Kalesh and all that stuff. And it's actually that planet has been seen on DS9 for sure. And the cool part, so this is a little bit out of this has to be retconned really hard to like actually fit into the timeline. But Worf goes to Boreth with some old Klingons during one of the DS9 shows. He goes to Boreth with some guys from the original series, Klingons we met in the original series, and they're like going for their like last hurrah. And there's like this whole big fight that happens, and their enemy is a Klingon they call the Albino. And there's a backstory to this Klingon that doesn't match this, but we're watching in this Discovery episode, and the Klingon and the time frame, because no one's ever really said like how long Klingon lives, but I think they said from what people have figured out with who's showed up in different shows, it's like 150 years. So it would fit because the albino's an elderly Klingon that's the bad guy of the episode. Also on the planet Boreth, and so there's a little bit of like maybe this kid that Ash is dropping off is this albino later on, because literally it's an albino Klingon. They're not like walking around like a billion of them all the time. So it's been speculated by us super Trekkie nerds that it could be the same character from the DS9 episode. But the backstories don't match.
Yeah, I just feel like that this baby, because like. You were just like, he's an old Klingon for a fight at the end of the thing. Like, you didn't say he was the dude that ran the place on the planet, blah, blah, blah.
Well, he was deep into, I forget, I admit that I have not seen an episode for a few years.
All I'm saying is I think this baby that was just taken away and gonna go be housed is far more important than this said gray baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because to me, if they were going to do something like that and tie it in, right, even loosely, like, I just kind of feel that the way that the show has been based on these characters, like, that Klingon guy you were talking about, unless there's just, like, an incredible backstory to him written somewhere, is just happened to be an albino Klingon who's an old guy, right?
Right.
Like, this one, I feel like when you hear his story, yes, he was the first to sail the galaxy, blah, 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 or whatever. Like, there's just something more to his trajectory.
Right. Yeah, and what really makes it, because there is not a whole lot about his backstory in the episode, but there's an entire book called Forge the Defier that is also canon, that gives his entire backstory. It is nothing of what we've seen in this episode. So it's like, damn it.
Right.
we'd have to do a lot of like explaining to get it to all match up and be right. So it's probably not, but it is interesting that this is another albino dropped on the same monastery this other albino grew up in. Maybe they just dropped all the weird kids there. I don't know. So who knows? But that's it. We find out.
Yeah, I mean,
the baby's okay.
You know what? Because, like, I mean, well, then if you do that, right? Like, say she's mother now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mother's child was taken to the monastery. He's probably going to be treated super special, especially given whatever she ends up accomplishing, right? So, yeah, this could be one of those things where, like, albinos are special. It's like, if you have an albino child, like, they go there kind of thing, because now they have, like, religious significance or something, possibly.
Right.
But I also don't know, like, if in future Star Treks, if it was like, yo, you're an albino Cleon, fucking nerd. Like, I don't know if that's just how it was, right? Like, you know, so. But that would be cool because then, like, if that kid's out there and, like, yeah, the timelines do kind of line up, but then it would be kind of, like, also interesting to why you don't see many albino Cleons. But if you do, they all happen to be at this monastery because it's like, hey, you were born white, so you're obviously religious. Go here. You know, like, I don't know. Like, they're just like a devout thing, kind of whatever. That would be kind of neat. Like, if they just, even if they just kind of made that, like, or something like that part of the story. You know what I'm saying? Like, that guy's there. He's done something. So now this may be why you happen to find more than one albino Cleon, especially since they're so damn rare in the same area, right? You know,
that's probably more the case because if it wasn't for this novel, we could probably screw it in there. But this one, the novel gives the whole backstory of everything and deals with more intricate details of that episode of DS9 that was called Blood Oath, by the way, for anybody who's looking for it. Because I'm looking it up right now because I was like, what is that called? And the last thing I want to talk about, did you catch? So earlier when Giorgio was talking to Laurel and she had this like disdain for the baby, like the idea of a baby just like fuck, like she's like babies. Did you notice when Ash was holding the baby on the ship on their Section 31 ship, when Giorgio approaches him, he doesn't turn to her right away, so she looks over his shoulder and looks at the baby and like makes like a cute face, and then as soon as he heard his head and catches her eye, she's like, ugh. She's like, baby. Like, it's actually the most endearing thing I've seen her do on this entire show. Like, the switch from her being like, that like, the face you make when you see a baby. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, hey. And then, like, as he turned out, she's like, it was great. I was like, it's cute that she's like, the actress snuck that in there. Like, I love that.
I think, that and if you're going to have a show, you know, kind of based around Giorgio's super awesome character, even though she's Machiavellian and can like fucking chop your head off, like she can't be an uber cunt all the fucking time. Like, it's just
right.
You can't write a character.
That's really tiring,
right? Like, you just can't write a character so shitty all the time. Like, no one will fucking watch it. And the fact that, like, because you knew her in Otherworld with other Michael, even though there was this weird, like, power dynamic going on, you could also tell that, like, she loved her. So
right.
It will be cool to probably see behind closed door Giorgio, where she's not, like, the one time she lets her guard down because she's not gonna immediately be stabbed by somebody else, and it's the little baby, and she's like, yep, this is the only time I can do this, and here's the 5 minutes of me being human before I walk back out of this door and go have to save the world this episode, or whatever, you know, is going on. Like, that would be kind of cool, because they're gonna have to write her character ruthless. Like, she's still gonna have to be the person that's like, well, I can kill this one person and save the day, so I'm just gonna kill that one guy. Like, that's the kind of character she is. But again, if you just make her like killing that one person, even though he's like a super nice guy who just happened to be like helping them out, it's like,
right,
how bad are you? Like, I don't even fucking like you now. Like, I'm okay with you being a bad guy because it's TV, but at a certain point, you gotta kind of like not be Jeffrey Dahmer. Right?
Yeah, they'll have to humanize her more.
Yeah,
when they have to write her on screen for entire episodes.
The best way to do that is having her go like a little goofy with like behind the like to the viewer's eyes, but behind the characters' backs, right? Of her,
right. Seeing her drop her shield and put it back up right away.
Like little goofy shit, and especially if like you get points of her maybe like coming back and checking in on this like Cleon kid of hers now every so often, you know, or whatever. But yeah, like them doing things like that is a really smart way for a person to like switch the tide from being ruthless overlord supreme villain, you know.
Yeah, it'll help humanize her so we actually like her character for the entire show that's based around her.
Right, yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Happily Never After?
Is it CG?
Yeah, it's an animated film. And
I may have seen it
but
once.
It's not like Shrek quality and other stuff. It's kind of like Hoodwink quality, like
Right.
It wasn't one of the big boys. But there's a scene in it, man, where I don't remember which like wicked witch it is, Maleficent or whatever, like who's the bad queen lady in this. But Rumpelstiltskin like comes up to her and he's like basically like it's like they're treating it like a job interview because she's like got all the bad minions working for her, and like. She goes, so what, are you like evil? And he goes, I stole a baby. How much more evil does it get than that? And like, to me, when I saw Giorgio like with the baby, like it just kind of reminded me of that scene, but it's like the exact opposite. It's like, I just smiled at a kid. Like, how evil can I really be? Right? Like,
Nice. Well, it just means that the scenario in the world that she was forced into, the mirror universe, like what they were born into, that humanity isn't inherently evil cunts. They just had to put that on because it's just their survival thing. And you're seeing cracks in that because it's not natural for humanity to be that way all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. Okay, that's it. I mean, that's the episode. It, like we said, to wrap it up, it was clunky. I think we both understand that it was the tie between episode 2 and episode 4. Like 4 should be pretty awesome. I do know that next episode, number 1 shows up. Rebecca Romaine start doing the character that Michelle Barrett Roddenberry did in the original pilot with Pike back 50 plus years ago. So that'll be cool to see her on screen. Because they showed that in the preview for next episode. That'll be cool to see next episode. We probably won't see Spock. Maybe we'll see his escape. Or maybe we'll get that big, giant, awesome, dope Spock reveal we're supposed to get next episode. Who knows? But
I hope they Spock you all fucking season. And like the only thing, like and the only 10. Thing you got was like the poster, and then like maybe episode
14,
8.5, and then like 9, and then like that's just where he's at because the next episodes are all like him having to go away somewhere. Yeah, I just want to watch your turmoil the rest of the season if they do that to you.
Right. And I want to bring up one final exterior point to Discovery, kind of an overall thing. People that like do YouTube videos and do podcasts that focus strictly on Star Trek all the time, every day, 24/7, are freaking out over a tweet that Anson Mount, the guy who plays Pike, and whatever the guy who plays Spock's name is, they tweeted out something. They were at like a chicken and waffles place. And they were like, "We're unemployed. Were you guys hiring?" That kind of thing. Like hashtag unemployed, hashtag Discovery or whatever. And people are like, "Oh God, are they canceling CBS? Are they CBS All Access canceling Discovery?" Like, no. You have to be stupid if you think that these characters are going to be around next season. This is just this story. Like, next season is going to be somebody else and something else and some new adventure. This is the Spock and Pike season. This is to snag everybody who was on the fence season 1. You're bringing in some old faces. Now, once you've established your viewership, then we can go on to... You're not going to have Pike and Spock for the next 5 seasons. They go back to the Enterprise. Spock goes back to the Enterprise. Like, they are unemployed because they finished this season. Like, they don't have any more jobs. Like, their job is done. So everybody's like, oh God, everybody's going to... No, everybody's fine. Just those guys are side characters who are coming in and they'll cut and they'll leave. And that's it. So, like, relax. This is CBS's cash cow. It's going to be fine. They've greenlit 2 more Star Trek shows. Like, they're fine. So just, I mean, people are just looking for things to, like, big flashy headlines on, YouTube videos or, on news sites or whatever. Like, just get over it. Just stop. Everything's fine. It's all fine.
Clickbait, man. Gotta get that viewership up. Gotta get them hits.
Right. We like everybody who's listening right now. You take this podcast to the end. We always give you guys shout outs at the very end because we love y'all. Because y'all come to listen to us run our stupid mouths, talk bullshit about kind of what we're supposed to talk about, and other things we're not supposed to talk about. We just talk about whatever comes to our mind. This shit ain't scripted. We're just here to have a good time. And we thank you guys and gals for being along for the ride. So, as always, thanks for the listen. Tune in here in the next couple days, because we're going to record the next episode, hopefully on time this time.
I'm going to have to turn right back around, sit here and stare at this motherfucker for almost 3 hours.
Then you get a week off. Again. You would just do it once a week. You always see once a week. But now you guys see me like 4 more days.
This one is totally my fault.
But thank you, everybody. And we will catch you on the flip side. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope we all enjoy episode 4 coming up in a very short amount of time.
Wrap this up.
I'm wrapping it up. See you guys later.
See you guys.